Hello, I am Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to your Thursday edition of Jamaica Magazine. Today we visit the Firearm Licensing Authority to see how technology is improving operations at the agency. Plus, hear from the Commissioner of Police on security measures in place to tackle domestic and gang violence. We also share useful information to help you stay safe while driving on our roads. Let's get started.
The Joint Select Committee of Parliament, considering the proposal to make the Portmore City Municipality Jamaica's 15th parish, is inviting members of the public to give their opinions on the matter. All submissions to the committee must be in writing. Please send your response by February 14, 2021 to Clerk to the Houses, Gordon House, 81 Duke Street, Kingston, or clark@japarliament.gov.jm. Please see the Parliament's website, www.japarliament.gov.jm, for more details.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, February 4, 2021. Cabinet has approved a $187 million contract to repair the breakaway along Gordontown Road in St. Andrew. During this week's post-cabinet press briefing, Information Minister Favour Williams said the contract was being awarded to NF Barnes Construction and Equipment Company Limited.
While touring the area shortly after the heavy rains, the Prime Minister indicated that it would cost the government some $200 million to effect repairs to the road. The approval of this contract means the work will begin shortly, and once completed, residents will be able to utilize the corridor.
The roadway collapsed during heavy rains associated with Tropical Storm Eta last November. Cabinet has also given approval for 41 housing solutions under a special benefit order for certain groups of contributors to the National Housing Trust. 30 solutions are being provided at the Twickenham Glades Housing Development and 11 at the Windcrest Hills Housing Development, both in St. Catherine.
Cabinet also approved the drafting instructions to the Chief Parliamentary Council to facilitate the promulgation of the said special benefit order.
The Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, will be publishing a pricing list for COVID-19 tests at approved private sector labs later this week. Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister Audley Shaw made the disclosure in Parliament on Tuesday. He says it's in response to reports of a disparity in pricing for COVID-19 tests at private labs.
I have tasked the Consumer Affairs Commission to scan the external environment to ensure that the various testing facilities are published antigen tests, PCR tests, and any other approved testing are appropriately priced so that consumers have access to affordable, essential medical diagnostic services.
Minister Shaw says the CAC concluded the market surveillance for COVID-19 test prices on January 26, 2021. He says the Commission has also taken several actions to protect consumers during the pandemic. That has included a 45% increase in market surveillance of access, availability and pricing of basic food items and heightened public education.
The agency has also conducted 12 sanitation and hygiene product surveys of masks, hand sanitizers, gloves, disinfectant, antibacterial soaps for the period March to November of 2020. These surveys were published in major newspapers. They have conducted 2 computer surveys, reavailability and price, for the period October to November of last year.
Government is in discussion with 5 countries and 1 additional facility outside of the WHO COVAX program to secure more COVID-19 vaccines for the island.
Jamaica has made a formal request to the CARICOM Secretariat for some 250,000 doses of vaccines as determined by the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, from the 1.5 million doses allocated to CARICOM by the African Medical Supplies Platform, AMSP.
The Health and Wellness Minister gave the update in Parliament on Tuesday. He says there are also discussions seeking to have Jamaica benefit from the 500,000 vaccine doses that India will be making available to CARICOM. The country is also exploring vaccines from China and Cuba. In addition, Dr. Zufton says government has engaged in discussion with Mexico and the United Kingdom as an option for obtaining the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has initiated dialogue with the UK government. I also met with the High Commissioner to Jamaica. Even as we talk with Mexico under our bilateral arrangements, with an option to approaching our negotiation through the intergovernmental machinery, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States.
And finally, Saturday opening hours at the Portmore Tax Office will resume this Saturday, February 6. Operations will resume from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with the usual tax services that are offered on weekdays. However, services provided by the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA, will not be facilitated during the tax office's Saturday operations. Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ is appealing to customers to cooperate with the instructions of security personnel at its locations to form an orderly line and maintain the recommended social distance of at least 6 feet. Customers are also reminded that several services can be accessed online at jamaicatax.gov.jm. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
The new NIDS bill has been drafted and is ready for review. We want to hear from you. Go to www.japarliament.gov.jm to download a copy of the new bill. Join the conversation. Make a written submission to Clerk to the Houses, Gordon House, 81 Duke Street, Kingston, or via email clark@japarliament.gov.jm.
We have extended the time to the 15th of February.
Join the process. Let your voice be heard.
The Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA, has been advancing its technology resources to improve efficiency with the acquisition of bullet tracks and firearm laser engraving machines. This is also strengthening the agency's accountability system. Take a look.
The FLA, like all other departments in the ministry, are going through a process of modernization to make them fully equipped with the requisite technology and structures to manage security apparatus in the 21st century. So in fact, they have acquired some bullet tracks machine to track both the casing and the warhead necessary. More critically, they have acquired a laser engraving machine, which means from now on, every licensed firearm in Jamaica will have a ID installed by laser, which means wherever it is found, we can know who was the original owner, who brought it in, and that it is in fact a licensed firearm in Jamaica. So the laser ID is a critical part of the FLA's tools to manage the firearm industry in Jamaica.
We have also acquired data concentrators to improve the database and the network, the processing time for all our systems. That has vastly assisted us in terms of the timeline in which we are able to process from the application to the testing of firearms. And it must be noted that all ballistic testing of firearms are uploaded immediately to the forensic unit. It's a joint venture program between the Ministry of National Security and the Inter-American Development Bank. The FLA was allocated $400,000 in terms of to improve the infrastructure.
It's critical that the authority is well resourced. And by resource, we're looking at the human resource, the human capacity. And you can see where they're actually doing tremendous work in ensuring that we have the requisite skill set in the authority to take on the task that is actually required to satisfy its mandate. Also important in this regard is for the authority to best leverage technology. So that is going to make a vast difference. The more you can actually move away from much of the human element to actually limit opportunities for possible corruption and so on and enhance efficiency. That is what the technology will actually do.
So it's important that the Firearm Licensing Authority have a strong and robust system of accounting for the licensed firearms in the country.
We currently receive an average of 3,000 firearms applications per month. And once the application comes in, we have a turnaround time of between 6 months to a year to complete the process, which takes it through the application, the interview. We have improved our processes in terms of the investigation. We have automated the process. So we have now online tracking. So persons who drop off their application are immediately informed of their unique ID number to track the application online, and the system also sends an email to the applicant each time there's an update on your application. An email is received and you can go online to track the processes. So there's no need to call the FLA or to find anyone to assist you. You go online and the application process from the start to the finish is done online. And so we continue to improve the processes and the system to ensure that as fast as possible, applicants are told whether they are denied, deferred, or approved for a license.
FLA is moving in the right direction to create the kind of modern face that we require for the entire security system in Jamaica.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force has tightened measures to tackle domestic and gang violence. Here's what Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson had to say at a recent press briefing.
There's a certain level of degenerate behavior that we have seen among our criminals, our criminal population. We've seen where it becomes a thing that people are willing to kill people for money, and that family members who should be taking care of each other, who should be looking about the interest of other family members, are not doing that, but are instead over property, over wealth, over items, are actually arranging and premeditating the killing of other family members. We saw that, as I say, most recently in this case. We saw it at an earlier case in Trelawney. We saw that in a case in St. Mary, where this sort of behavior has been playing out. My warning and advice in this case, or in these cases, is that even if you're disposed to do that, the likelihood of you getting away with it is quite low. In all of these cases, we have persons in custody. These cases have been solved. There may be one or two people we are still after, but largely you will not get away with it. Our intelligence resources are adequate to find out what has happened in these cases, and our responsiveness and our investigators have been following up very rapidly. Some of these cases are wrapped in 24 to 48 hours, some take longer. But that is the case. So my warning is that we don't do this. The other point that I'd like to make is that what we've been seeing is a certain fluidity of criminal action. People move back and forth across the country to commit crimes, to make arrangements with other gangs to do crimes on their behalf. And because we've seen this fluidity of operation, we have put in measures along our roadways to intercept and interrupt this and to detect. We are getting good intelligence on how people are moving and the routes they're taking. What we have seen is, again, the fluidity across police divisions in Lower Kingston, where disputes in one division play out in the other. The borders that we have set as our traditional policing borders create static lines, of which, of course, criminals don't recognize, and they fluidly move back and forth. And in that regard, we have implemented a number of strategies to deal with that fluidity across the lower belt. We have and increase our agility. We have, within the next few weeks, a whole rollout of a quick response and quick reaction team that can respond across all of that belt. They will be trained in the tactical use, and are being trained in the tactical use of motorcycles and their weapons to respond quickly to gang activities and other threats to the lower part of Kingston. We're continuing that process, and it's going to expand up into the northern part of Kingston and St. Andrew. We're also restructuring how we police Kingston as we speak, to remove some of those artificial boundaries that were traditional into a more fluid, citywide policing strategy.
Since 2016, we did about 6 major seizures. And of those 6 seizures, we have worked jointly with our international partners. One person was convicted last year in Miami. There is another seizure that took place in 2017, which led us to the investigation of the Texas Street gang. 18 persons were arrested and the main witness disappeared. Out of that, the main perpetrator was arrested just December of last year, and has been charged with the trafficking of those firearms, among other charges. And we are working jointly with our international partner in respect to that same matter. There is another matter where 119 firearms were intercepted in Miami. That investigation is ongoing, and there's one in which I think it was 11 firearms were seized. We have actually started an anti-gang investigation. We have identified a number of gang members. We have identified the key players, and we are working jointly with our international partners. We have identified the main perpetrator from overseas, and one of the hindrance, one of the things that prevented us from progressing further is the COVID-19. We are well advanced, and so all of those major finds we have made headway, and we are making headway in those. The last find, there's a joint investigation between the JCF and our international partners, and it is ongoing, and I can guarantee that we're going to get to the bottom of that one as well.
So we're reducing the space with the tools available to us, and we're creating new tools to stop the gang violence and bloodletting on one sense, but to create an environment of greater safety, whether it's on our roads or in our commercial areas, and over the next, certainly over this year, we're focusing on more public safety, public order, whilst at the same time targeting those gang members and criminals who are bent on murder and murdering each other and the families and associates of other gang members.
I was diagnosed 12 years ago with cervical cancer. I'm free for the past 10 years. Go through all my treatment. Now I want you to go and get your pap smear test done. Don't be afraid, because it can save a lot of lives. Your family, your friends. If I can do it, reach 4 and reach here, so now you can do it too. I will continue to encourage each and everyone to get their pap smear done, because you never know what you might find. It's better be safe than sorry.
We turn our attention now to road safety. Knowing the safety features in vehicles and how to use them can help reduce the severity of or even avoid a crash. Here's more.
Active safety refers to systems that helps to avoid an accident, while passive safety refers to features that minimize the injury to occupants of a motor vehicle when it is involved in a crash. These active safety systems are the steering and the braking of the motor vehicle that are operated by the driver, while the passive safety features are like the airbag and seatbelt that is activated by the vehicle itself when it is involved in a crash.
And speaking of a crash, it is important to buckle up at all times, because not only does a seatbelt save lives, but it helps to prevent lifetime and long-term injuries.
It's very important to wear the seatbelt. In case of an accident, the seatbelt will keep you from going forward.
In case of sudden impact, you don't, fly from the seat or from the vehicle, so it keeps you stabilized.
And if you don't wear the seatbelt, you can be persecuted. So it's very important to drivers to always wear a seatbelt, because it saves life.
Persons must remember that the seatbelts are installed in the vehicle as a safety device to minimize the injury that you might receive in the event of a collision. So persons who are wearing the seatbelt in this fashion, right, this is not the correct way. The seatbelt must be worn right across your shoulder. If the seatbelt is too high based on your height, then it can be adjusted to fit right across your shoulder. And if you are a tall person, it can also be adjusted so that it fits you as best as possible for your own safety.
Children are precious, and their safety must be taken into consideration when traveling in a motor vehicle. So if they are too small, a child or booster seat must be used. This is recommended for children under the age of 7.
You should also make sure that it is firmly fitted in the vehicle, allowing for minimal forward or sideways movement. Let us use these safety devices to help protect our children from death and serious injuries in road crashes. The headrest is sometimes mistaken for a luxury feature, but it is actually another valuable safety feature on your vehicle. The headrest or head restraint is actually to minimize or prevent a whiplash injury during a collision. It should be adjusted to the height of the driver and passenger's head, and there should be at least 2 inches between your head and the headrest.
During a collision, the airbag acts as a cushion that minimizes or prevents injury.
What the airbag does is to reduce the speed of the forward movement of the occupant. The airbag is designed to inflate rapidly in moderate to severe crashes and provide protection to the occupants' bodies when they strike interior objects such as the steering wheel or a window. However, for proper protection, persons should be correctly restrained with a seat belt.
You've often heard it said that children should travel in the back of the vehicle, and here's one of the reasons. It is because they are too small to handle the impact of the airbag. So, Take these tips into consideration.
You should never put a rear-facing child seat in the front seat of a car with an airbag. But make sure all children are buckled up no matter where they sit. Unbuckled children can be hurt or killed by an airbag. Do you know where the crumple zones are located on a vehicle and what's their purpose?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't know. They're immediately front of the vehicle. Or where the passenger or the driver would be, that part would take the impact away from it.
The crumple zone on a vehicle are located to the rear and the front. In a crash, these two areas are so designed to crumple so that it minimizes the effect of the crash on the occupants and sort of preserve the cabin area that the occupants are located in.
These areas are designed to deform, hence the word crumple, upon impact, so that the force from the crash is transferred into the bodywork of the vehicle and not to the body of the occupant. The crumple zones are also designed so that damage to the cabin area of the vehicle is limited during a crash. These areas also help to slow down the crash so that the occupant's motion is contained and they are not thrown around.
This is a vehicle with a frontal damage. And if you notice the front area here, this is actually the crumple zone, which is located to the front. And the effect of this collision actually caused the entire front to crumple inward. And as you can see in the center here, this is typical of a pole impact. And this impact, this crumple, will be the same that would be seen at the rear of the vehicle if this vehicle was involved in a rear impact collision. These areas are so designed that they actually sacrifice themselves during a collision to actually secure the cabin area of the vehicle where the occupants are located. This area will for most part remain intact to minimize the effect of the collision and lessen the injury to the occupants themselves.
The next time you buy, drive, or travel in a motor vehicle, remember, they offer more than just flashy features for your mobility and enjoyment. They are also built with protective safety devices, so take time to know them.
Buckle up when you drive. Protect your children with child and booster seats and strap them down well. Adjust your headrest and never reuse an airbag. This has been Road Scholars. Until next time, take care.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.